And the entertainment world is mourning the loss of one of its comedy greats. Catherine O'Hara has died. She leaves behind a body of work that ranges from cult classics to blockbuster films and some small-screen gems.
On January 30th, 2026, Catherine O'Hara died at her home in Brentwood, California. She was 71, a pulmonary embolism brought on by a private battle with cancer that almost nobody outside her family knew about. She was cremated. Her ashes were given to her husband of 34 years. Within hours, the tributes started. But something strange happened. The people mourning her couldn't agree on which Catherine O'Hara they were mourning. Some remembered Moira Rose, the vocabulary-mangling matriarch of Schitt's Creek who swept the Emmys. Some remembered Kate McAllister, the frantic mother from Home Alone. Some remembered Delia Dietz, the insufferable sculptor from Beetlejuice. And some, the ones who'd been paying attention the longest, remembered a young woman on a tiny Canadian television show doing impressions of Katharine Hepburn and Barbara Walters for $5,000 an episode on a channel most Americans had never heard of. That show was SCTV. It premiered 50 years ago this year. And the argument I want to make today is that it was the most important comedy show in North American history that almost nobody watched, and that Catherine O'Hara was its secret weapon. SCTV ran from 1976 to 1984. It produced John Candy, Eugene Levy, Martin Short, Rick Moranis, Andrea Martin, Harold Ramis, and Catherine O'Hara. It won 2 Emmy Awards. It pioneered the entire concept of meta-comedy, television making fun of television, decades before 30 Rock or The Office existed. And it did all of it on a budget so small that Saturday Night Live's catering bill probably cost more. This is the story of how it happened, why it was forgotten, and why it matters now more than ever. The waitress who replaced Gilda Radner. Catherine Ann O'Hara was born on March 6, 1954 in Toronto, the youngest of 6 kids in a working-class Irish-Canadian Catholic family in the suburb of Etobicoke. She later said that fun was a necessity at the family dinner table. That's where the instinct came from, not drama school, not a conservatory. A crowded kitchen where being funny meant you got heard. In the early 70s, she got a job at the Second City Theatre in Toronto, not as a performer, as a waitress and coat check girl. When she finally auditioned for the stage, the director, Joe Flaherty, told her to keep her day job. She kept waitressing. And then, in 1974, Gilda Radner left the Toronto troupe to join the first cast of Saturday Night Live. O'Hara stepped into her spot. She was never a backup plan again. When SCTV launched in 1976, she was an original cast member, and from the first episode, she did something that nobody else on the show could do quite the same way. She played characters that were completely absurd and completely human at the same time. Lola Heatherton, the washed-up, boozy lounge singer screaming at audiences that she wanted to bear their children, was hilarious. But underneath the mania, there was real loneliness. Dusty Town was a terrible comedian, but O'Hara played her with enough vulnerability that you felt sorry for her. That was the gift. She didn't mock her characters. She inhabited them. What SCTV actually was. Here's what you need to understand about SCTV. It was not a sketch show. It was a fully realized fictional universe. The premise was that you were watching the broadcast day of Channel 109, a terrible, low-budget television station in the fictional town of Mellonville. The station was run by a corrupt president named Guy Caballero, played by Joe Flaherty, who used a wheelchair purely for respect, and a chaotic station manager named Edith Prickley, played by Andrea Martin in a leopard print coat. Every sketch was a show within the show, a soap opera, a horror movie, a talk show, a local commercial, a news broadcast. And behind all of it was a serialized backstage narrative about the people running this disaster of a station. That format, television making fun of television from the inside, was decades ahead of its time. 30 Rock, The Office, Tim and Eric, every single camera self-aware comedy of the 2000s owes a direct creative debt to what SCTV built in 1976, and they did it for $5,000 an episode. The first 7 episodes of the entire series were produced for a combined $35,000. Saturday Night Live during the same era was spending between $350,000 and $1 million per episode. SCTV didn't have the money for elaborate sets or a live audience. What they had was time. 6 weeks to write, 6 weeks to shoot, then editing while writing the next cycle. And they used every second of it to build comedy so dense you could watch the same episode 3 times and catch something new each time. The cast was ridiculous. John Candy, Eugene Levy, Harold Ramis as the original head writer, Dave Thomas and Rick Moranis, who accidentally created the most iconic Canadian characters in history, Bob and Doug McKenzie, as a sarcastic protest against a government mandate requiring 2 extra minutes of Canadian content per episode. The bit was meant as an insult. It became a Grammy-nominated album, a feature film, and a permanent fixture of Canadian national identity. The Shadow of Saturday Night Live. SCTV and Saturday Night Live premiered a year apart. They drew from the same talent pool, the Second City improv tradition, but they took completely opposite approaches. SNL was live, chaotic, celebrity-hosted, and built on the adrenaline of performing in front of a studio audience in New York City. SCTV was pre-taped, meticulously edited, had no host, no musical guests, and was shot on sound stages in Toronto and Edmonton with a skeleton crew. The result was that SCTV's comedy was layered in a way SNL's couldn't be. Because they could edit, they could build long-form parodies that worked on multiple levels simultaneously. Because they had no celebrity host to service, the ensemble owned every minute. Martin Short later described the difference perfectly. SNL was like shouting to the cheap seats, while SCTV allowed for a nuanced approach. Eugene Levy said flatly that the show could compete with anything in the world because it was that good. But the exposure gap was brutal. SNL was on NBC, reaching tens of millions of Americans every Saturday night. SCTV bounced from a regional Canadian channel to the CBC to a late-night NBC slot to Cinemax, never staying anywhere long enough to build a mass audience. SNL also kept rating SCTV's talent. Robin Duke and Tony Rosato crossed over in 1981. Martin Short joined SNL in 1984 and immediately became the breakout star of the season, bringing his SCTV character Ed Grimley with him. The pipeline ran one direction, from Mellonville to Manhattan. The night she quit SNL without ever going on air. There's a story that says everything about Catherine O'Hara. In 1981, she was recruited to join the cast of Saturday Night Live during a desperate rebuilding season. She showed up. She saw the environment, the cutthroat competition, the chaos. One writer spray painting the word danger on a wall while screaming about the show's declining quality. She packed her bags and left that same night. She never appeared on air. She went back to Toronto and said, "This is my home." She rejoined SCTV, and from there, she built a 4-decade career that generated over $4 billion in worldwide box office. Beetlejuice, Home Alone, $517 million. Home Alone 2, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Then she became an indispensable member of Christopher Guest's ensemble mockumentaries, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind for Your Consideration, delivering improvised performances so precisely calibrated that other actors studied them. And then came the late career renaissance that proved she'd been underestimated her entire life. Moira Rose on Schitt's Creek, co-created by her old SCTV castmate Eugene Levy and his son Dan, the Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress, the historic sweep of all 7 major comedy categories, Beetlejuice in 2024, another $450 million at the box office. After her death, she was posthumously awarded 2 actor awards in March 2026 for her final television performance in Apple TV's The Studio. She met production designer Bo Welch on the set of the first Beetlejuice in 1987. They married in 1992. They They raised 2 sons. She was named honorary mayor of Brentwood in 2021, and she never stopped being the woman who chose to go home instead of staying at SNL, where they all ended up. The SCTV ensemble, pound for pound, produced more lasting, versatile Hollywood careers than any single era of Saturday Night Live, but the cost of time is brutal. John Candy became one of the most beloved comedic actors in American history. Splash, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Uncle Buck, Cool Runnings, and died of a heart attack at 43 while filming on location in Mexico. Harold Ramis co-wrote Animal House, starred in and co-wrote Ghostbusters, directed Groundhog Day, and died in 2014 at 69. Joe Flaherty, the man who told a young waitress to keep her day job, died in April 2024 at 82, and Catherine O'Hara followed him in January 2026. The survivors carry it forward. Eugene Levy co-created Schitt's Creek with his son Dan and remains one of the most respected figures in comedy. Rick Moranis walked away from Hollywood at the height of his fame to raise his children after his wife died of cancer, and became a legend for the roles he refused. Martin Short is in the middle of a massive late-career peak on Only Murders in the Building. Andrea Martin won 2 Tony Awards and holds the record for most nominations for Best Featured Actress in a Musical. Dave Thomas wrote the definitive book on SCTV's history, The 50th Anniversary. In March 2026, Prime Video Canada made all 135 episodes of SCTV available for streaming for the first time in over 20 years. The City of Toronto unveiled a heritage plaque honoring the Second City. And the long-delayed reunion documentary, filmed at the Elgin Theatre in 2018 with Martin Scorsese moderating, is finally moving toward release. The show is being rediscovered by a generation that grew up on the exact kind of meta-comedy SCTV invented and never knew where it came from. Conan O'Brien once said about SCTV, "It made him believe that when it comes to comedy, God is in the details." Catherine O'Hara lived in those details. She played characters so outrageous they should have been cartoons, and she made them breathe. She left SNL without ever going on camera because she knew what mattered. She went home, she did the work, and 4 decades later, she was standing on every stage that mattered, holding every award, having quietly built one of the greatest comedic careers anyone has ever had, all because a waitress in Toronto got a chance to fill a spot that Gilda Radner left behind.